I'm on the support team, and I also help out with community and governance from time to time.
When Natalia is here, she does community management here at One Inch, but she'll be listening in on this call. Oh, here she is. Hi, Natalia. Some technical difficulties, maybe. Let's touch briefly on the governance UI we've been working on. We know the UX could be a little better with our governance right now, so we're working on an upgrade to our One Inch UI. So instead of going over to Snapshot in order to vote on proposals, you can vote on them directly from the UI or our One Inch DApp. So we're going to have in-DApp alerts when proposals have started in the snapshot phase. We're going to have the ability to vote on proposals from the One Inch DApp and snapshot delegation directly from the DApp. We're hoping to really smooth out the governance process and get more people engaged. So if there's any comments or suggestions on that, I would like to hear them. It looks like we have a problem with the community calls channel. It looks like it's read-only right now. Can one of the moderators please address that?
Okay, somebody give it a try. I think it's good.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Nice to meet everyone. Any questions or comments on our governance process or the governance UI we're working on? We're just waiting for the layer 3 guest to show up right now. And my Discord is giving me a bit of a fight right now. So if someone else can add Brandon to the stage here so he can introduce himself in the layer 3 project, that would be good. I might have to restart my Discord right now. Oh, here he is.
GM, how's everyone doing?
Very good. Great to meet you here, introduce you to the community.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Should I kick it off?
Yeah, they're interested. We'd love to hear more about your project. A lot of feedback we've been getting from the community is they kind of want us to incentivize governance participation or really onboarding onto the One Inch network. So I think layer 3 would be a great fit there.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, again, thank you for having me. I'm Brandon. I'm one of the co-founders at layer 3. So maybe just to take it from a very high level, the way we view our value prop to communities like One Inch is across 2 key dimensions. The first is on user and community growth. So we enable communities like One Inch to incentivize behavior that should hopefully help expand your user base and your community base, and I'll explain how. And then the second dimension is to get really complex work done within the DAO. So if there are elements from a design perspective or a dev perspective that a community is trying to get done and the core team might not have the bandwidth to do that, we offer tooling to basically outsource that to members of your community on a one-off basis, very similar to a Fiverr or an Upwork if you've ever used a freelance marketplace like that before. So we have 3 features that communities can use. And you can check out our site now while we're on the call. It's beta.layer3.xyz. The first feature that we offer is what we call instant bounties. And if you've ever used a tool like Rabbit Hole, it's very similar to that in that you can take an action or a series of actions as a user and get rewarded in tokens for doing so. So a good example might be make your first swap on One Inch. And if you do that, you could get rewarded in One Inch if that was something that the team wanted to incentivize. The next feature that we have is what we call contests. So this refers to any type of action where users compete to win. This is really good for short form promotions if there's a major feature release One Inch has, or there's a big community event and we're trying to cultivate and curate buzz around it. Basically, community members can earn One Inch tokens by putting out threads or blog posts or participating in meme competitions or designing infographics, work that would take maybe a few hours and it's fun to compete with. And then the final feature that we have is what we call projects. Projects refer to something, like I mentioned, maybe it's a little bit longer form in nature, trying to redesign an aspect of the app. Maybe from a dev perspective, there's a dashboard or something like that you want someone to work on. Projects is great because community members like yourself can apply to complete work, and then the core team can basically review the applications. They can say, okay, well, you clearly have a really good background. on front end work. We'd love for you to help design, this aspect of the site. And then you're immediately put into a group chat, and you will basically discuss what the work is and then submit the work once it's done. This is
So
a very
the group chat is right there in the app. Is that
actually
is that how it works?
better for most teams in that it is actually a Discord channel. So the way it works is
cool.
you are immediately put into a Discord channel that's like super easy async comm, since most of the community members are already there. You guys can bounce back and forth. You can hop on a call. And then in order for the work to be completed, the core team member has to submit it. So as a DAO, you can make sure that the work really meets the expectation that you wanted before the contributor is paid out. But from the contributor side, what's cool is that in addition to getting the rewards for participating in all of these things, bounties, projects, contests, we also have a leveling system. So we have a leaderboard. You level up, you earn XP proportional to the value of basically the token that you're getting. And at some point that will equate to inherent value in the layer 3 platform itself. And so there's a gamification element. And then the second is that in addition to the XP, in the near future, you will also get one-of-one non-transferable NFTs. And the cool thing about this is it represents a credential for the off-chain contribution that you made. Like, say you wrote a blog post for 1inch, now on-chain, and you can use that to curate this resume, which in the future, based on partnerships and integrations that we have, will have some type of value. So you'll be able to access certain features and tools within platform for basically curating these badges.
Sorry to interrupt again, but you said it's a non-transferable NFT. I think I heard Vitalik Buterin talking about those recently. He called them soul-bound. I believe that's the term he used. And so it's a good way to get kind of on-chain credit, right? Not credit, but I guess reputation. Show that you're an active participant. Is that the idea there, or?
Exactly. You nailed it. They're soul-bound, meaning if someone in this community made a contribution, if they did dev work, design work, wrote a blog post, only you should, in theory, get the credit for that. And so this NFT represents the on-chain validation of that work you did off-chain. And one of the key pain points that we are trying to solve is that we believe so much work happens within DAOs or within Web3 communities off-chain. I mean, this conversation is a good example. And, I think POAP has done a good job of capturing moments like this where people, attend an event. But we are trying to find a way to take all the other contributions people in the community make and put those on chain through these soul-bound NFTs.
Very cool. For the audience who's not nearly as nerdy as we are, soul-bound means it's a video game term. So it's an item that's locked to your character forever. You cannot transfer it or sell it. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah, it's a cool concept. And then just kind of bringing it back to the governance bit, we are enabling the tools whereby communities like 1inch could say, well, if a user delegates their vote or they participate in governance, they could potentially earn more ownership. And it's a great way, I think, to incentivize more participation from a governance perspective for a community DAO like 1inch and plenty of others that we've worked with. And kind of final note before I pause is just to give you a flavor for some of the other communities. Right now, we're live on ETH Mainnet and Polygon. We have formal partnerships with Olympus DAO, Index Co-op, Pool Together, Ferrari, and a handful of other DeFi communities. And then we also have partnerships with, just traditional Web3 communities. So like a Zapper or a Dune Analytics, they haven't gone full DAO, but they use our platform to power incentives within their broader ecosystem. So it's a super flexible tool. And again, if you haven't checked it out, would highly recommend going to beta.layer3.xyz and completing your first contest today.
Very cool. Very cool. And for the community, we're actually 1inch is actively integrating with layer 3 right now. So we should have a contest for you guys early next week. Would love to hear ideas for contests or bounties in the community calls chat or the governance chat. The first one we're looking at is probably incentivizing proposals on the governance forum. So you could earn some 1inch for doing some work for the DAO there. Have more for you on that later. Your tool, layer 3, is this all Ethereum mainnet, or are there other chains you can interact with for some of the smaller bounties? I know the the gas fees are very high on Ethereum mainnet right now.
Exactly. Yeah. We're live on Polygon, and if we work with communities that have good liquidity there, we definitely encourage them to use that because it enables micro incentives, right? So I think, what is the appropriate price for maybe a meme competition? I don't know, probably like $50 to $100, and that just doesn't make sense to pay out on ETH mainnet, but it certainly makes sense to pay out on Polygon. But there's a good range, right? So there's work that is like sort of $50 to $100 in value, and then there's work that goes up to $5,000 in value. So I think a lot of our users view us as a way to both explore new communities, but also, expand and augment their own portfolios through participation rather than exchanging their capital.
Yeah, it seems like a good way for people to actually start providing work for a DAO, right? That's kind of what you're geared towards. Instead of just holding the token, they can actually work to own the token, right? Or
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people view Web3 as like a brand new economy, and for the first part of that economy, the way most newcomers to crypto onboarded was just through speculation. They connected their bank account to a Coinbase, they went through an on-ramp process, and then they speculated on like the appreciation of assets. But over the next decade, and you're already starting to see this, we believe, and I'm sure everyone here does, that this crypto economy is going to be far more about participation. And so if you're new to crypto and you want to start earning ownership in the communities you care about, like 1inch, how do you do that? Well, you could become a core team member, and I think that's fantastic. But maybe you have a day job, you don't have time to commit to being a core team member, but you still want to start accruing ownership in a 1inch, and you really understand what 1inch is trying to accomplish. You could go to a tool like Layer 3 and do these tasks on a one-off basis, and you are co-solving issues. One, you're pushing the DAO forward, and the other is that you're accruing ownership, and you can exercise that influence over the direction of the community. So.
And from the 1inch network point of view, this also really helps further decentralize the network. We're trying to pursue total decentralization. It's a long journey, but this looks like a tool that would really help us on that front.
Yeah, exactly. I think most communities can't find enough productive ways to get the token in the hands of users that really matter, and we're trying to solve that by being a productive way and a productive channel. And over time, if you're involved with a community like 1inch and you want to see analytics based on the engagement of the work on Layer 3, we'll have tooling that will basically show you, okay, what's the profile of the average wallet that's interacting with your contest, and how can we go about targeting the right audience? And we're building in all the tooling such that you can use our platform and target the audience that you want based on what you're trying to accomplish. Very similar to how an Instagram ads or Facebook ads work, but in a much more decentralized way.
And that on-chain soul-bound NFT you were talking about, what utility are you seeing there? Could we maybe give it some voting rights in the DAO, or make subcommittees with people that hold the NFTs?
Exactly.
I'd love to hear the community's comments also. Sorry to interrupt, but guys, just feel free to post any comments or questions in this community calls channel down there.
Yeah, and please come up to the stage too if you guys want to jam live. But so look, the clearest use case is you talk to a ton of teams that have done airdrops based on usage, and it's evident that it's not a great retention mechanism. It's kind of like really aggressive liquidity mining schemes. Like you have this high churn where like 30% of the users stick around, but you lose 70%. And so
if you're thinking mercenary miners.
Yeah, it's brutal. And so if you think about liquidity mining from the lens of like a traditional business metric like customer acquisition cost or CAC, it's really an efficient use of capital. And so the way we think about these soul-bound NFTs is the most immediate use case is if you're a project and you want to do like a monthly airdrop based on proof of contribution, you just airdrop to anyone who earned this soul-bound NFT within your community. And it's proportionate, again, to the value that they've provided. So that's a great way to retain people who are actively participating. They're accruing ownership. It's this really virtuous feedback loop. The second is more custom, whereby you're gating certain features or you're giving them certain rights within the overall 1inch ecosystem. And you could potentially build like an internal leaderboard where people who are accruing these NFTs might be good targets for others to delegate their votes to. there's all sorts of, I think,
that's a really good idea.
modular.
I like
So yeah, I mean, the beauty of it is that like we don't right now, right, when you contribute to layer 3, like it's directly between basically the contributor and the DAO, but there's no like completely transparent record of that, and that's the key thing we need to solve to make this truly Web3 native. But yeah, I mean, community members, like, please do come up to the stage. We'd love to jam with you on this.
Awesome. Does layer 3 itself have a DAO?
Not yet, not yet. So we're about 6 months old. That's definitely the direction we're going. We believe in decentralization. We believe in being community owned. And at its core, effectively, what we're building is a marketplace. And I think marketplace business models are actually quite beneficial from the perspective of becoming a DAO, because as users who are creating value for the marketplace continue to do so, they get to accrue value. And it's the inverse of like a traditional Web2 marketplace. So when you think about the classic examples that we're all familiar with, like an Uber or an Airbnb, it was really great for the host and the guest early on, or the riders and the drivers early on. But then they achieved network effects and they started extracting value, and basically they got to this point where the rake was just so significant that even though you were an early member of creating that marketplace value, you didn't get to benefit from it. Whereas I think with marketplace models in Web3, we wouldn't exist if there weren't DAOs or there weren't contributors. And so why should the DAO or the contributor not begin to accrue value as they use layer 3? And that's how we think about it. So in the future, the hope is that a platform like 1inch could basically earn ownership in our marketplace the more they power work through our platform. And then contributors also will earn ownership. And so you have this strong alignment of interests over a long period of time.
And then when you guys actually transition to the DAO, it'd be really cool to see a DAO that springs up. It's created by people who already participate in DAOs. You have kind of a list of people who actively participate in DAOs and love decentralized organizations and actually contributing to contests. So it should be really powerful.
And you can build in all sorts of really cool incentives. Like I mentioned, the whole NFT leaderboard. You can have like tooling built around that so that communities could basically plug in tooling there, or you can have a referral mechanism where if you bring communities to layer 3, you get to earn more ownership. So there's all sorts of really interesting incentives that I think would go into a DAO that's managing layer 3. It's just all about kind of the right timing.
Very cool. Any suggestions from the community on what type of bounties we should offer? Oh, okay, sorry. Go on, Tanner.
No, finish what you're saying, then I'll ask a question.
I was just expanding on what type of questions.
Okay, I'll ask one really quickly. So there's a question in the community calls channel from Tanzors. He asks, what is some history about the layer 3 team? You mentioned it is about 6 months old now. Is there a brief origin story for the project? That was also my question, by the way.
All right, I love it. Cool. Yeah. So my background, really briefly, is I spent the first 6 years of my career in traditional finance. I worked in private equity, and at the firm that I was at, I helped build and scale our practice of investing in crypto, and wanted to move from the investing side to the operating side and take a swing at building something. And through that effort, I connected with my now co-founder, who is on the technical side. And what he was building before layer 3 was basically a growth marketing agency for DeFi. So he would partner with specific DeFi communities on a one-off basis and use traditional growth marketing tactics to help scale and expand their overall brand ecosystem. And he had a great partnership with Rari, now Ferrari at the time. And if you were around during those days, which maybe some folks in the audience were, the way this worked was you would do work for the community and you would get like all these cool perks. So sometimes you'd get tokens, sometimes you wouldn't, but it was meant to be like really low brow. And what I mean by that was like some of the activities were, if you got a tattoo for Rari Capital, you would get RGT. Or if you went skydiving wearing Rari Capital merch, you would get RGT. And it was just like this really fun, playful concept. But there were two things that we had kind of realized back then. One was services models don't scale. And the second is that you need to actually power really meaningful work to attract the right type of user, or you need to allow meaningful work to be on the platform. And so we got together, we iterated around our skill sets. Turned out we were quite complementary. We began raising our round in September, launched the product in October, around this notion of basically being a talent marketplace for DAOs. And the first type of work that we launched with was this competition-based work, what we refer to as contests. Over time, we realized that contests are great. They power a certain type of work, but there's two other things that we really need to nail. One is just participation, which is how we came to bounties, where protocols can basically say if you take certain actions, you get rewarded. That, in our view, is like the core analogy to like Web2 ad spend and Web3. And then we also realized that there's certain type of work where it being competition based will create PTSD. So if work takes 2 or 3 days and a user doesn't actually win, you're basically incentivizing them to churn from both the DAO and from layer 3 because they're really frustrated about that experience. So
I could see that really souring someone.
Yeah, it's brutal, right? Like no one wants to do that. And so that's why we enabled projects. And so like that's great if you know that things are going to take a long time and you don't want people who aren't, don't have the requisite skill set to be working on it. You can then go through projects for that. And so now we have this really cool
and sorry to just to rope back. The bounty seems pretty straightforward to me. They're kind of smaller prizes or rewards for doing tasks that are easily measured. The contests seem pretty straightforward also. The winners are selected out of some submissions. Can you expand on the projects a little more? I'm still having trouble wrapping my head around how it would look. Do we whitelist people at the beginning or
Yeah, no, great question. So let's take let's say someone wants to build like a really complex Dune dashboard is maybe the first thing that comes to mind. And that work is probably going to take maybe a week, maybe it'll take a little bit less. Instead of saying, well, we're just going to post this and say we'll pay someone $1,000 to create this Dune dashboard, and that would be a contest, multiple people would be competing to win. With projects, the way it works is you guys post it, and then instead of reviewing incoming submissions, you're just reviewing applicants. So users can curate their layer 3 profile by connecting their GitHub account, their personal website, personal portfolio, their Dune Analytics account, their Twitter, their Discord. So they can add all of these elements to their profile. And then when they apply, they have two fields that basically allow them to provide work examples relevant to that job. And then a long form description of why they think they're the right person for that job. And so now you're creating this basically process where you as the core team will review the applicants and then you'll select the right person for it. And so it's really good for work that you would otherwise engage a freelance worker on. So again, maybe some dev work, maybe some design work, or maybe it's like you want to create a hype trailer, a hype video trailer for a new release. You don't have anyone on the team that's good at making those types of videos. You want to outsource it to someone who does. You post that on our platform, you'll receive applicants and you'll get the work done.
Awesome. So it's almost like we have the 1inch foundation grants program right now, and it seems like it's almost like an intermediary. It's too small to ask people to do for free, or it's too big to ask people to do for free, but too small for a $50,000 grant. So we could work on the projects with them. That's a really cool idea. Have any teams worked on actually decentralizing the review process itself? Like, do you know of that, or have you heard of anything?
Yeah, it's on so not yet because we haven't really built great tooling for it, but it's on our roadmap. And the way it works is right now, like to validate any work or basically choose the correct winner for work or the right applicant, that's done by the core team. In the future, we'll have community validation, which basically means community members can upvote the work that they like. And whatever the community promotes the most will be the kind of the winning submission or the winning applicant. And so this is a great way to make it more decentralized. And then the cool part is that once we get to a place where we are decentralized ourselves, you can earn and accrue ownership of layer 3, not only by posting work or completing work, but also by validating work. So you have this really positive incentive mechanism where the right people are basically coming and saying, okay, well, I think this blog post was really good, or I think the code this person committed in our GitHub repo was excellent. And it's a fully decentralized work mechanism. It's kind of like the decentralized Mechanical Turk.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm just fascinated by those NFTs still. So I guess it's really cool that you guys are kind of, once those NFTs are live, you'll have kind of like a Sybil attack resistant mechanism there, since you're verifying that like kind of the hurdle for getting verified there is a little higher than just creating a wallet on Ethereum, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of interesting use cases that come from having these soul-bound NFTs within various communities, and it solves a lot of pain points, because I think one pain point that a lot of communities suffer from is sometimes users will show up and they'll just immediately try to, like, start contributing, or they really want to get involved, but it's kind of frenetic and chaotic. And it's hard sometimes from a community perspective to sift through the people that are actually really focused on helping that community and ones that are just there for a quick buck. And if you have this mechanism where you can say, okay, well, you have a proven history of contributing across communities, you have a proven history of contributing in certain categories across communities, here's where we can easily get you involved. You're solving at least part of the onboarding process, because it's much easier to say, I have proof of what you've done in other ecosystems. Whereas right now, if someone comes to your community, it's really hard for you to see what they've contributed to, say, a Uniswap or a DYDX, right?
Oh, so you can vet them against other submissions they've done in the past, see if they're legit
right.
or not, see if their work is good. Okay, awesome.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Probably didn't
we have a couple
well.
questions. Oh, no. I just love learning about this stuff. Kind of just clicked there. Got a couple questions in the community calls channel. From Hop23. He says, transition to DAO, quote. Is that a retroactive airdrop for early adopters and contributors? So he's looking for some alpha there. I don't know if you want to leak that here, or skirt around the answer there, give him a non-answer.
Yeah, Hop23 wants to know when token. I can't answer that, but I think it's like the playbook is fairly well known at this point. So yeah, that's all I can say.
He doesn't know Hop23. Wink.
What does the competitive landscape
with crying?
Yeah, I'm looking. So Trader Snow wants to know what the competitive landscape looks like. Yeah, I mean, look, you've probably used some of these platforms. The first thing I'd say about competitive landscape, at least culturally, is that we do hold the view of, and this might be cliche, but like, I think the WAGMI thing is actually quite relevant within the space that we're playing, primarily because like all these tools are meant to help onboard people to new communities and to Web3 in general. And so if there's multiple winners, that's fine by us. But other players in the market, I would say Rabbit Hole is playing around like what we're doing with instant bounties, whereby you're basically earning ownership by taking actions on chain. They're coming at it more from an education perspective, whereas I think we're coming at it more from a contribution and like work perspective. But I would say that they're one of the platforms that comes up the most. And then there's two platforms that are basically trying to be like the Web3 Trello or like a Notion for DAOs. One is this tool called DWork. Maybe you guys have checked it out before, but it's basically like a Kanban board for communities to manage work within their community. The primary difference between us and them is that we are focused on curating our own base of contributors. So we have about 15,000 contributors in the Layer 3 platform. And so one of the value props that we offer to a community like 1inch is basically this pre-baked ecosystem of people that are eager to contribute on our platform and will likely start contributing more to yours. So we help expand the top of funnel, whereas like a DWork basically is catering towards the existing community. And that's the same thing with another platform called Wonderverse. So I would say those are the names.
So not necessarily poaching members of other DAOs, but getting active. Let's say someone's actively participating in a Uniswap's DAO. We could see that, and they could see us and see that we have some work available for them that's right up their alley.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like I think there are some people who there's some people who choose one community to just go all in on, but there are a lot of people who like to pick a handful. And so our platform really suits that type of user because they can continue to proliferate their contribution across these different communities. And then they also continue to use our platform. And so if you're an up and coming community, we're a great tool because we can help you bootstrap. And if you're an established community, it's a great way to reach your existing audience and then continue to kind of expand on the edges.
Yeah, just anecdotally speaking, I probably own a dozen tokens from projects, and I actively participate in like 2 DAOs. And it's not because I don't like participating. I love participating in DAOs. It's just drinking from a fire hose and also trying to find everything. Like in order to find out what type of work, like index co-op or something needed, I would have to go through their forum and kind of dig through and find what fits my skill set. Layer 3 would offer this kind of platform just for me to go and see in one centralized location how I can provide value to these DAOs.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And hopefully, at some point we can build enough brand equity where people really want to showcase their user profile, and it's something that people like to, share and flex and things like that,
It'll be the new Twitter profile pic then.
Yeah. Or like you can, I don't know, you can like, I don't know, here's a far-fetched idea. You can timestamp it, mint it, and trade the value, right? And so you can start speculating on like contributor value throughout the ecosystem. Like that would be a really cool side project for like the layer 3 DAO to build at one point, where you're basically like, you're speculating on contributor value in a fun, playful way.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk about the integration with 1inch now. So we're actively working on it now. First thing that the core team was thinking about was a contest, probably the 3 best proposals of the 1inch forum over the next 3 to 4 weeks would get an airdrop or a reward of some 1inch tokens. This would be on Ethereum mainnet, so we're thinking about a quantity. I don't know, 1 or 200 1inch should be a couple $100. No promises, but that's what we were thinking. Is there anything else you as the community, DAO members listening right now, would like to see us do on maybe the contest front or the bounty front? What do you think is missing from community engagement, and how do you think layer 3 could help us there? Looks like it's crickets in the community calls chat right now. So
I mean, we've powered all sorts of work, right? And the beauty of it is that it's largely self-serve. And so I think like the contests that you mentioned from a pilot perspective are great. It'd be interesting to see what type of quality we get. And then you can also lean into some of the other stuff. So we have this formal partnership with Dune Analytics, where any Dune related bounties go through us. And so if you feel like there's certain on-chain analytics the 1inch community really wants to see, maybe you guys already have those. You can power those through us. There's like, from a dev perspective, there's a lot of one-off dashboards that people have created. So Index has one right now. It's like a web app for displaying the ICE ETH yield. And then I'm trying to think of some other, like a lot of just user-generated content. So if you want folks to be producing like long-form copy, blog posts, threads, video tutorials, all those types of things are just like great ways to engage the community from a contest perspective.
Kitty is raising their hand, so we'll bring them up on stage here to speak.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, cool. Thanks for bringing me up here. Really interesting chat. So I work with Tracer DAO. We're a derivatives DAO and Arbitrum, and a lot of the work that I do is focused around community contribution, and we're trialing all sorts of tools. And so I thought I'd tune in because I met a lot of the one team in Amsterdam, and also I'm really interested in layer 3. It's something I wanted to speak about or just hear what your thoughts are, Brandon and the 1inch team, is how do you guys figure out what each task is worth? So I suppose like you could pay it out in like your governance candle, or you might denote it in USD. Does layer 3 provide support there? Or is it kind of a case by case thing that you guys set?
We do. Yeah. So we have we call them pricing algorithms. It's really just like a big data repo of what communities have priced things at that we can use to provide guidance if communities want it. That's one of a few other services that we offer. And like it's basically, it's one of those things that gets better with time, right? So if a community, like, it's become very clear to us that pretty much any type of blog post, the floor for that is roughly $300, and quality starts to suffer under that. For like anything on social, threads, memes, infographics, those tend to be priced at around $100 for quality engagement. But teams will always, either flex down or flex up based on kind of their budget and their size. And we're happy to give guidance there. And I think it'll continue to be better. Our hope is that we can build this an app. So based on the category of work that you classify, we provide pricing guidance, and that'll, again, it'll get better. So that's one service we offer. And then the two others are, we offer like quality assurance from a submission review perspective. So Kaspersky, who's actually in the audience, leads that effort at Layer 3. And if you want to post work on our platform and there's 100 submissions, and maybe you don't want to go through the brain damage of reviewing the submissions and making sure that, or basically deciding which ones meet the requirements, we'll help you do that. We'll mark the ones that we think are high quality, and then you can make the final decision. And then so the final service is around like contest curation. So let's say you have something that you're looking to promote. You have a big release, you have a community event, but you're not sure what the contests are that you should put out to spark community engagement based on what we've seen in the past.
So the blog posts you mentioned, are those usually done through the projects portal, or are they contests?
Yeah, those are typically
projects, right?
They're typically contests too.
Okay.
Sometimes it's like, explain how to use, like write an explainer of how to use this, or describe your 1-inch journey. Like, what do you love about the product? What do you think they can do better? And people can post that on whatever platform they want, Medium, Mirror, Substack, and then they'll just submit that. You guys will review it, and you'll pick the ones that you think are the best.
Cool.
Thanks for that. No, that's cool. The other thing I think that's interesting is like having the remuneration based around the KPIs. So like there'd be a base rate for a blog article, like it might be $300 US. And then part of the task could be to share it, on your personal medium, or if you've got a community blog, share it on the community blog, and then collect some sort of metrics. And then, or like say you're writing a tweet thread and that's the task. The amount that you receive could be in proportion to the amount of engagement, likes, retweets you got. So have you seen other teams on Layer 3 tie remuneration to KPIs for the specific task?
Yes, some have. Largely like based on kind of what you mentioned around likes. The honest issue with that is that look, I think we all know this with crypto. Like, if there's a way to game something, like, it will be gamed. And so the issue is like, if you have like social KPIs related to things, you're often getting like a lot of like fake accounts that will come in and basically like boost engagement, and it's really hard to sort through that. We've had other KPIs from an internal perspective, meaning some communities want to know what percentage of the wallets that participated in a specific quote unquote campaign, so like a series of contests or a series of bounties, then continue to take actions on chain within that specific protocol. And there we see pretty good engagement. I mean, I think there's definitely like some improvements to be made around targeting, but for the most part, people who tend to participate in events on our platform will continue to use the platforms that they have now learned about. But we are trying to get better. Like I mentioned this earlier on the call, we want to have like an analytics dashboard for communities to use, where they can actually see all of that data all within platform. Again, we're trying to position that part of our tool to be very similar to sort of an Instagram or Facebook ads, where you can target the right users and see the engagement statistics based on it.
Yeah, cool. You're right. Like, if something can be gamed, it will be gamed. Like Arbitrum recently, they're doing a marketing program called Arbitrum Odyssey, which is starting mid-May, and they're trying to shortlist projects on Arbitrum to be part of the campaign. And so they did a bunch of polls on Twitter, and then very quickly they realized they had to move it to Snapshot because, like, as you know, something that will be gamed will be something that can be gamed will be gamed, and we just saw bots everywhere. But so were you saying that oh, sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to kind of reiterate it. It's kind of sad, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, if there's any metric or any type of engagement that can be gamed, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And before you were saying, so you guys have done KPIs internally. I didn't quite follow. Is that you compare someone who, like, the address of a contributor to if they then go on and use the platform and engage in governance and whatnot to see kind of the follow through?
Yeah, exactly. So like there's the way I was thinking about it was there's two types of KPIs from the DAO to the contributor, meaning like if you do work, we expect it to have, this level of engagement on Twitter or on your blog post. And then the second type of KPI is from the contributor to the DAO, basically our way of saying of the contributors that have participated in the work that you've powered through our platform, which ones have gone on to, on chain, be active members of that specific protocol. So with 1inch, it would be, write a blog post, put forward a governance proposal, and then did that wallet address continue to use 1inch on a 1 week, 1 month, 3 month basis. And so you can start to see retention based on the engagement of the contests that are going through layer 3.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. Okay, I'll jump off stage now. I feel like I've kind of hijacked this community call, sorry. But that's super interesting. Thanks for all that.
Yeah, thanks, Kitty.
Nice to talk to you again, Kitty.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Had a couple suggestions from Natalia here on some contests or projects. So one is translations of our educational content into different languages. I think we only publish in English, Chinese, and Russian right now. Please don't quote me on that, but there's definitely room to expand into other languages. And then leftover bounties from hackathons. So each Amsterdam, we had a list of like 8 bounties we wanted people to pick up. Stuff like NFT aggregation using the 1inch limit orders, or really a lot of them actually centered around using NFTs, collaborating between NFTs and 1inch. So we could upload those as tasks on layer 3, stuff that we wanted to see built on 1inch that just didn't make it in the hackathon. They only had 36 hours, so that stuff takes a little longer. Yeah, I think we're. Oh, sorry. Go on, Brandon.
No, I was just going to chime in. I mean, we've powered a lot of translation work on the platform. So Olympus actually used us to translate their docs across like 10 different languages, and really great turnout. And then other teams have used it for just like basic, like like being a specific language mod in a Discord channel. So it's definitely something we've had success with in the past.
Using your platform, is there a way I can see historical contests, bounties, and projects, or just active ones right now?
Just active ones, but we have a report that we can share with you. So I'll send that over.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Thank you. I think we're coming up against the end of the call soon. Tanner, do you want to speak on the POAP distribution? We're trialing a new POAP distribution bot.
Sure. Yeah. So how the Pope's working for this community call is for anybody who's been here for a good portion of the call itself and who has not been on mute or deafened or anything like that. There's a Pope bot that has been kind of tracking this, and they're going to track your accounts. And so when we end the event at the end of this call, you guys can just type /claim in our Discord, and it'll trigger the bot. And if you're eligible for the Pope, it'll give you a link to it. But we're going to have to upload. Say that again, Jordan.
All right. They can be muted, right? If they're in the audience, it's just deafened. They can't
be muted. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what I said. But yes, you can't disable the audio during the call, or it'll start over your timer for how long you've been in the call.
And this is to attack, not to defend against bots. I mean, after the last community call, it was kind of the bots really beat us up. There's probably 700 Popes got claimed by computers there. So we just want to keep it exclusive to actually real people who are really in the call.
Yeah, so we're going to try this and kind of tweak it over time, but hopefully this works pretty well for you guys. Yeah, so when the call ends, don't rush to do it right away. I'm trying to get there's an announcements channel in the DGen category that'll kind of talk about the distribution. And we're going to have to kind of pair the links up to all the popes after the call, so don't rush to type in your claim command right away. Give it a couple minutes, and then hopefully you guys can all get your popes for joining in on the call.
Very cool. Anything else from the community while we're all in the call together? Any questions for Layer 3 or 1inch Network team? Looks like that's about a wrap then. Well, thank you very much, Brandon, for coming on the call and teaching us all about Layer 3. I'm very excited about this integration.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me and for all the great questions. If you have any questions and you want to reach out to me directly, feel free to drop me a DM on Discord or Telegram. And yeah, looking forward to get these live.
Yeah, everyone in the audience, stay tuned. We'll probably putting an announcements channel, definitely the governance channel at everyone once the contest is live. Looking forward to seeing your submissions. Thank you.